Oh, whoa. What up, Chucklefucks? Welcome to the Goon Hole. It's ya boy Skibbity Rhino here. Ohio Cirrus over there. Today, we finna goon with Max Riz. No cap.
I I want you murdered in cold blood. What the fuck? I I think unironically a world without you is a world improved now, and that is insane to me.
I'm sorry. It's my birthday. This is my midlife crisis.
Wow, that is being very generous. You think this is the mid part of the life? No.
I hope that I'm not quite to the middle yet. Okay.
Mm.
I'll leave the hat on because somebody redeemed a hat, even though this is the most uncomfortable, ridiculous hat ever, but I can't do the sunglasses. Hi.
Hi. Why is the Thank you, VTube Studio, for being a functional piece of software where I can't actually get rid of items. That is fantastic.
I'm getting all sorts of mixed messages in chat. We've got who drop-kicked Rhino in the head. Normally I'd say I never want to see that again, but honestly I love the energy. Never do that again. It's Thrill House. Now I got my Millhouse shirt on. So have I been watching too much online content with my kid? Yeah, no, I fucking hate streamers that talk like what I just did. It's annoying.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cuck Nation, where you get to watch me do great things. Get cucked.
Yeah, I fucking. But yeah, it was my birthday today. So
Happy birthday!
My partner cooked me a nice 3-course meal. Which it was a cream pie for dessert.
Okay.
Like a coconut cream pie, obviously, is what I was talking about.
Do I just need to play the song from the Donkey Kong cartoon? With coconut cream pies.
Maybe. I don't know. Something about doing the intro like that makes my eyes hurt.
Yeah. Look, it's karma. It's just karma. That's all it is.
Yeah. So it's my birthday today, so I decided to spend it with you chucklefucks instead of getting blowjobs or something.
I mean, you can always get a blowjob afterwards.
Nah, because then we're all tired.
It's congratulatory blowjobs, you know?
Happy year old day. You definitely embodied that with that intro. Yeah, no, I told my kids that I was planning that, and they were like, I'm already embarrassed.
I'm not your kid and I'm embarrassed.
My partner was like, I'm having second-degree cringe.
Yep. I often say, don't kill the part of you that is cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. I rescind that statement. I have learned my lesson. I'm so sorry, everybody. I was wrong.
Yeah. Maybe a little. You know, the hardest part of that, though, was finding one of these hats with the flat brim, because I think these hats make you look like a douchebag. So anytime we get them, we like if the kids ever get one, we always make sure to bend the brim.
So that it looks like a proper baseball
so
cap
it looks
instead
like
of
an actual hat instead of a I'm trying to look like a douchebag hat. But since I was trying to look like a douchebag, I'm like, oh, need to find that and unbend the brim.
Yeah. I apparently need to get a hat now. Saki said that I look surprisingly good with a hat on. I think it's because I'm balding. So that could be the reason.
Pernada says, I'd do the BJ, but I don't think his D can reach overseas. That's what you think.
You have no idea the lengths he can go. Oh, that is disconcerting. My model is not tracking super well right now.
My oldest painted a picture of me in puddles.
Aww.
From a screenshot of one of my videos, and you can tell that the screenshot they used for reference, I was looking at my monitor. And only one person of the 6 people that live in the house aside from me remembered that it was my birthday today. And it was not
Only one
Heidi.
person in the house. What?
Who remembered that it was my birthday today. And it was not Heidi.
Man, you know what's fantastic?
No, Artemis,
Forgetting
I do
your
not let
friend's
my
birthday.
children watch my videos. They probably asked for a screenshot at some point.
Why is the volume on this laptop so low? I can barely hear you, but everything's turned up to max.
Because it's a laptop.
That shouldn't matter. We should make our technology good.
The speakers on laptops have been trash for decades now.
We can make good speakers for like $10.
I know, but they don't for laptops. I don't know why.
They're just like, yeah, they're just going to use headphones anyway.
Oh, that's sweet, Fennec, thinking that my oldest is only close to being a teenager. My oldest is about to start driving. So which one of the favorite kids? It's so the kid that remembered my birthday was the one that I still think of as the 10-year-old, even though he's 12. Okay. Oh, Artemis wanted meat sauce.
That is unfortunate. With things barely functioning as is right now,
yeah,
I will take the...
Cirrus is probably sitting on the toilet in his hotel room because that's the only outlet that works in there.
Yeah, that's the thing that y'all don't know that is going on right now. The power in my hotel room is functionally not working, so I am plugged into the hotel vanity in the bathroom. That is the only place that I get to be right now.
Medic says that explains the audio. Like, yep, it's a bit echoey. Yeah, it's okay.
Hold on, how's it now?
That's better.
Okay.
Did you just have the wrong mic selected?
No. I had my mic sitting up because that was more convenient. Now I'm physically holding it. So we're just gonna do that thing where the YouTuber holds the microphone the entire time.
Why would you want
an outlet next to a toilet? So many things could go wrong. Yeah, but that's counterpoint. Hair dryers exist.
Counterpoint. Probably the weirdest hotel bathroom setup I ever saw was they had the coffee maker with its supply of coffee in the bathroom right across from the toilet.
That's completely unsanitary.
Yep. I'm like, nope,
that is gross.
I am not doing anything with, like, at that point I'm like, I am not trusting any of the stuff in this hotel room to be sanitary. So like, I'm going to call the restaurant if I need a glass for water.
Yeah, like the coffee maker here is on the vanity and the vanity is in the bathroom area, but like there is a wall separating the toilet.
Well, okay, so counterpoint with regards to the outlet by the toilet. It's easier to get a heated bidet if you've got an outlet by the toilet. Now obviously it would have to be a GFCI outlet. But yeah, I actually wish there was an outlet by my toilet because a heated bidet sounds amazing.
I wish I was home so that I had my bidet.
Oh yeah, and toilet paper in the hotel rooms is the worst. It's always like that one-ply garbage.
Yeah, I have to pull a bunch of the toilet paper and like soak it in water real quick to make it bearable.
No, I have a bidet as well. It is delightful, and I feel disgusting anytime I'm without it.
You feel cleaner.
Because it is cleaner.
Also, just sidebar, it feels like it's easier to poop when there's a bidet. Don't know why.
Well, if you're having trouble getting stuff out, if you shoot the stream right at the hole, it can trigger some muscular reactions that cause it to come out quicker. So yeah.
That's probably what it is. Yay, we're talking about pooping.
Plow King says, I had to run an extension cord for my ass shower. I assume ass shower is bidet. But yes. Something Sometimes I wonder why we still use toilet paper. Yeah, I use it to dry after the bidet because I don't have one of the fancy schmancy ones that dries for you.
Yeah, but when you use the toilet paper to dry, you're using like one
2 sheets or something.
15th. Yeah, you're using like 1/15 of what you would normally use. Because like
Mm-hmm.
I got my bidet 3 months ago, and I've had one like large thing of toilet paper. Um, I've barely chewed through that toilet paper since getting the bidet.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, we have kids in our house that if they ever figure out what the little handle on the side of the toilet does, they will just use it to make a mess in the bathroom, so they still use toilet paper.
Yeah, but that's because they're kids and they can't be trusted with, anything.
Okay. Why would you chew toilet paper? I don't know. Who was chewing toilet paper?
I used the term chew through toilet paper because it's a figure of speech for getting through something very quickly.
Okay. Well, I mean, speaking of taking it up the ass, our first news item tonight is about the big, beautiful bill.
Fuck me in the ass because I love Jesus.
Yeah. So basically,
good Lord would want it that way.
This bill is a whole fucking... It's a perfect example of the pork fatting that's going on in American politics, where they just, like, attach any fucking thing they want to any random bill. Someone needs to draft, like, an anti-pork fatting legislation and tuck it away on page, like, 752 of a bill like this. So that, like, oh, from now on, your bill actually just has to be what it says it is.
What if... I mean, so that's what happens in France. But can you imagine we get one of these big, really, really Republican favoring bills, but on page 600 something, there's just a little stanza that says, every Republican lawmaker is gay. Ha 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 ha. Take it up the ass.
I think they'd find that because they read the bills by control effing for certain things, and gay, I feel like, would be one of the words.
Just spell it with a 4.
Sure. Lord of Uskalak says, is this the bill MTG voted for without reading it, or a different one? Well, she doesn't read any of the ones she votes for, to be fair. But yes, this is the one that she publicly admitted to not reading.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that Marjorie Taylor Greene played Yu-Gi-Oh! She doesn't know how to fucking read.
Yeah, is that a dig at the Yu-Gi-Oh players?
So in Yu-Gi-Oh, there are rulings that are changed based on whether or not a fucking semicolon is in the card or a colon, and that changes very, very finite functional rulings, and nobody understands it. So yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh players don't know how to read. Just not a single one of them.
Okay. Well, this was sent to me by my anonymous source, so they say the bill was 1,037 pages long and 200,000 words, and the bill's final text was not available until 10:40 p.m. on Wednesday, 8 hours before it was voted on in the House. So they say it would not be surprising if bleary-eyed legislators overlooked some of its nuances in their hurry to deliver the package that President Donald Trump demanded. So here's the thing, though. Yes, it was introduced really late and then voted on really early, so there wasn't enough time to read it properly. But that wasn't the first draft. It was publicly, like, the text of the bill was publicly available for like several weeks before it was voted on. Yes, it was revised since then, but it's much easier to find revisions in a bill than to read the whole thing from scratch.
The text of Project 2025 was available to everybody for 2 years, and nobody fucking read it.
This is true.
I have zero faith in the human ability to engage in the time-honored tradition of reading.
Scott D says, no, that should be banned. The full text should be available at least a week before being introduced. Yeah, I agree. There should be time, like, yeah, as much as I'm saying, like, previous iterations of the bill, were available. The fact that the final version was voted on, like, first thing in the morning, the night after it was introduced, or the morning after it was introduced, way at night, that's not cool. They should give enough time to actually read it before expecting people to vote on it. So, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't have voted yes on it. But at the same time, I understand why she didn't read it. Not that she reads anything, because, like, fuck, this feels like giving her too much credit. New hat.
Okay,
yes, finally get to get rid of that piece of fucking douchebag.
You gotta think, though, Marjorie
Put
Taylor
on my gay
Greene.
hat.
Marjorie Taylor Greene exists in a world where she has staffers who she could literally chunk the bill in sections of like 10 or 15 pages and ask each staffer to read through those pages, take notes and summarize them for her, and literally just go down the line and go, okay, page 1 through 15, anything of note I need to worry about? Okay, cool. Page 16 through 30, anything of note I need to worry about? Like, that's a privilege you have as a politician with paid staff, which she is. Mm-hmm. That should be the easiest thing in the world to do. Because I've had to do that before when there's stuff that is written in like dense legalese that I can't really parse very well. I've had to hand it off to friends and just go, hey, you're better at this than I am. Can you parse this for me in like 4 or 5 hours so that I can go on stream and talk about it and not be hip firing out of my ass? Like, if I can do that with a minimal network, she can do that with a staff worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. There's not really an excuse for it, but I still think it should be, the final text should be publicly available at least a week before they vote on it, especially in a bill that size.
Hello.
Geargasm subscribed. Thank you, Geargasm. Geargasm subscribing for maximum Riz.
Geargasm subscribe. That's a Riz time. Yes. No. Every time I think about this, I want to die a little more. I can't keep up this energy. It feels fake as fuck.
Sorry, just needed that to bring the energy back up.
Hello.
All right, no,
back down.
No, we're good without any of that.
Okay. So if Green had voted no, like this passed by one vote. So if Green and the other guy, Mike Flood, who admitted to not having read it, if they both voted no instead of yes, then it wouldn't have passed. Do you know? Has this passed the Senate yet?
I don't think it's passed the Senate yet. No.
Okay. Do you know if they're actually? Last I heard is that it was leaning towards not passing.
Let me see here.
Do you know if that's still the consensus?
House Speaker says July 4th is still the target for passing the big beautiful bill. Trump's big beautiful bill gets boost from LA immigration protests. How?
What? How? What? It doesn't have anything to do with that, does it?
The Senate removes the boundary waters mining provision from the big beautiful bill. That seems like they're trying to figure out a way to get it to pass then.
Well, I mean, if they're tweaking it, doesn't it have to go back to the House for another vote?
If they tweak the bill and it goes back to the House for another vote, remember that Mike Johnson's already said that he's just gonna shove it through. Like, the thing is, the Republican House knows they're on a time limit. They know that they have to do this before 2026.
Yeah,
so they're gonna get it done before the end of the year.
But if there's one person who you can rely on to be a howler monkey who just wants to get all the attention on her, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if they don't get rid of the thing that she's objecting to in it, although to be fair, I don't see, like, I pulled her tweet for later, so we'll get into this later. But her objection is basically that there is they're not allowed to, like, states aren't allowed to regulate AI for 10 years, which I agree, that is really dumb. Putting a provision in a bill saying you're not allowed to regulate a brand new technology that is in desperate need of regulation is dumb.
Yep.
So this is a broken clock is right twice a day moment. Although, too bad she couldn't have been right earlier on before she voted yes on it. But yeah, it's also very fiscally irresponsible with all the bloated spending. This is what's caused Musk and Trump to have a messy public breakup. Which that's basically all the tweets tonight.
Which is funny considering what happened earlier today.
What happened earlier today?
Musk publicly apologized and deleted his tweets.
Oh, okay. Well, we're still gonna laugh at them. I don't. Why would he do that? Why would he apologize?
Because he has more to lose. So think about it this way. Think about it from the perspective of an egotistical businessman. You previously courted a liberal base because the electric vehicle market was very much a thing that liberals and left wingers cared more about than right wingers. And then he starts courting the right wing. And now suddenly Teslas are seen as swastikars. People are getting things taped on their Teslas saying, by the way, Elon's a Nazi. And now you start disenfranchising that group of people. What are your shareholders going to be screaming at you down your throat for? Our market share has dropped and it's your fault. When you're in that position, your ego, like legally, your ego ends up having to give way because you do owe to your shareholders.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay. Well, we're still going to make fun of the tweets because there's some quite telling stuff in there.
Oh, by all means. We can definitely make the fuck fun of everything this dumb motherfucker has done.
So yeah, with regards to this bill, Trump, in a fairly recent, I don't know whether it was a press conference or an interview, but he said that, I never said I was going to balance the budget. I didn't run on balancing the budget. I just ran on the economy, which I'm also tanking. But in March of last year, he said, in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. That sounds like running on balancing the budget.
I never said I would do that thing I said I was going to do.
I never said that I was going to do the thing. I just said that. I just said that to get the votes. I wasn't actually running on it. So yeah, Flood was objecting to a provision on page 541 that would limit the authority of federal judges to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order. So that's the thing that a lot of the legal experts have been focusing on, how this basically strips the lower courts of a lot of their power, in a way that basically the way that it was worded, it's all about whether or not the court required a payment of a bond or whatever at some point in the process. And if they did not require payment of a bond, then they can't do their injunction. And it's supposed to apply retroactively, which means that there are a shit ton of fucking low-level offenders that now don't have to do what the court says because they were never charged a bond or something. Like I forget what the exact details are with that, but it's unintentionally going to mess up a lot of shit if it passes. And it's just blatantly Trump trying to be able to defy the courts without there being consequences. But the way that they had to word it in order to get him out of there being any consequences for it is his administration, because it wouldn't be him paying the consequences, it'd be his administration. But in order for him to get out of those consequences, you have to let a lot of other criminals out of those consequences as well.
Which has a domino effect that none of us really want. You don't want to be giving carte blanche to other white-collar criminals.
Yeah, and then Green, of course, was objecting to the no regulating artificial intelligence. And then Representative Liu of California said, pro tip, it's helpful to read stuff before voting on it. So, good job, Representative Liu. But yeah, the Big Beautiful Bill is a big beautiful mess. And none of us on the left are surprised.
No, Not even the slightest. So this is an ambitious block of text solely made to stroke the ego of a man who has used the presidency to enrich himself 4 years prior and now. Nothing that happens from this point forward is a surprise. It's just a thing that happens. And I hate that.
Yeah. Okay, next up. The Canberra Baptist Church was expelled from association over same-sex marriage support. So this was sent to me by Josie.
Good gets you punished. Yay.
Yeah. So the Canberra Baptist Church, this is in Australia, I think, in New South Wales. Canberra Baptist Church has been expelled from its denominational association after almost 100 years for refusing to support a conservative stance on same-sex marriage. So, it's one of those, like, they try to do a good thing and they're punished for it by their denomination, so... What is going on with your avatar? What are you doing, Cirrus?
So because I'm not in the actual area that I wanted to sit at, I'm having to piecemeal grab things like my drink from the places that they were.
Oh, does it get small when you walk away from the computer?
Profanity. What?
Does it get small when you walk away from the computer?
Oh, yeah, because it's a perspective thing. It's to make it look like you're leaning back versus pushing forward.
Okay. Yeah. So, New South Wales and ACT Baptist Association, which is governed by member churches, voted to disaffiliate the Canberra Baptist Church during its annual assembly in Sydney on Saturday night, with 65% of the delegates supporting the move. Yeah, so this is, again, like, we're witnessing denominational splits over some people being like, hey, maybe we should just love everybody, like Jesus said, and other people being like, no, we need to hate the gays.
Well, because remember, in their perspective, and I'm obviously not trying to defend them. This would be a stupid thing to try to defend. But from the perspective of the Christian right, the loving thing to do is to hate the gays, because by hating the gays, you make it more likely that they'll get into heaven. Like, that's the logic.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
If you shame people for not being part of the church, if you shame people for not honoring God correctly, they'll have a higher chance of coming around to the right side. It doesn't make any sense when you look at it as a sane individual, but when you look at it from the lens of that cult...
Yeah, even when I was an anti-gay Christian, it was still a matter of, like, it's not my job to judge. Judge not, lest ye be judged. It's my place just to be a loving person, and then God does the judging later.
Yeah, unfortunately, for people who are in that denomination, not just that denomination, but many denominations, their perspective is going to be, yeah, it's God's place to judge, but that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to do it. Like, they put a delineation between judgment human to human and judgment from God, which is considered a final judgment. There's a tier system to it, basically. Or they'll just say that you're taking the Bible out of context and therefore they can judge anyway. Like, those are the two schools of thought that I can think of on that.
So maybe this is where my literal brain kind of helped me out with this, because I always saw it as, like, all sins are supposed to be relatively equal.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't harp on about people who have sex before marriage or get divorced or any of the other stuff. Like, literally says in the Bible that if a woman divorces for a reason other than adultery and then remarries, she is now guilty of adultery. And yet we didn't harp on about people that had divorced and remarried for reasons like we just weren't compatible. So I didn't understand why, like, okay, why are we harping on this one but not the other one when they're supposed to be the same?
So think of it from the perspective of somebody in the NIFB. They will harp on somebody for that. They view that as a failure in the eyes of God. So, like,
yeah, but
you had a more sane
so even if they might do that on a one-on-one basis, they don't preach sermons about it.
Yeah, they do.
Not as often as they preach the anti-gay ones.
Correct. Steven Anderson and them do that more often, but, like, I've covered a lot of sermons from the NIFB, and they've definitely tackled their warped ideas of adultery.
What about Kent Hovind? Isn't he an IFB?
So
is he
would you
still
like to know
is he
something
still
funny?
out of prison?
He's still out of prison.
'Cause-
You want to know something really funny? I have only ever covered Kent Hovind once,
Really?
and it wasn't in response to Kent Hovind. It was in response to his
Artemis.
Weasley little sycophant, who I did a whole video series on called Discount Hovind.
Matt Powell?
No, there's a
new one?
Christian YouTuber that goes by the name of like I2I, and all he does is quote Kent Hovind directly. And the one time that I covered Kent Hovind was when he went to the Dinosaur Adventureland and did a collaboration with Kent Hovind. So I was like, sweet, 2 for the price of 1. And that's the only video I can think of where I've actually covered Kent Hovind. I don't know why I've avoided covering him specifically for years. It just never happens because there's always other people.
It's still wild to me to think back to my days as a creationist, where I respected Kent Hovind and listened to his sermons and whatnot. And then if present me could go back in time and tell past me hey, one day you're going to be an atheist and Kent Hovind is going to target you for his Wednesday whacking thing.
He's gonna whack you off.
He whacked me off. Yeah. He spent an entire hour and a half just talking about me and how much he hated me, or how much he didn't respect me or whatever. And I'm just wow. It's so weird to think of that. Apparently Kent just did a video whacking Sir Six audience. Where is Kent doing videos nowadays? Is he back on YouTube?
Yeah, he's been on YouTube as far as I know.
Oh, he got kicked off of YouTube for a while.
Was that back when Susan was in charge of YouTube? Because there's been different management for the past 3 years.
Might have been. I don't know. But yeah, he is super petty. He also commented on one of my videos. He was like, "Your sources are 145 years out of date." Oldest source I used was 20 years old. But that was fun. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it for this church, but moving on.
Yeah.
Revealing ICE agents' identities could lead to prison under new bill. This was also sent me by my anonymous source.
Why is that? Why should that be a thing that we let happen? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It was Senator Marsha Blackburn that proposed it. So
no. This is gonna piss me the fuck off. As one of the major improvements to the police force in the last 20 years was the advent of forced identification and body cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 2 of the greatest improvements we have made to the police. Now, granted, there's still a billion that need to happen, and one of them could even be completely fucking abolishing the entire system and building something new that doesn't fucking suck. But I digress. That was one of the major improvements to the police force. Who in God's fucking green earth thinks that the correct thing to do with this wannabe paramilitary Gestapo version of the police, insofar as the police aren't already that, who is thinking that, making these people have specific immunities is going to be better for everybody? No, fuck that. And the person who proposed that probably needs to bite a curb. No.
Yep, Marsha Blackburn definitely needs to bite a curb. Yeah, no. So I can see an argument for law enforcement to be able to conceal their identities in situations where they're raiding a gang headquarters. And if they're identified in that, there's a very real threat of retaliation from other gang members against them and their family. I can see that. Walking into Home Depot to arrest people looking for jobs, or walking into fucking elementary schools to interrogate first graders is not that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are situations where I can get behind law enforcement being able to hide their identities. This ain't it, Chief.
I'm gonna be honest, I even struggle in that situation only because when you're looking at the concept of a gang headquarters, you kind of have to ask the follow-up question: what systems were in place that allowed for the existence of a gang headquarters or necessitated one in the first place? And at some point down the line, you're gonna hit the police officers with a stick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, the American police system was born out of the KKK. Like, quite literally. It was the origin of the police system that you guys have was people hunting runaway slaves.
Yeah,
Like,
so
that's what it was born out of. So, like, the fact that there are problems in the system is basically a given.
like what's that quote from Monty Python? This is the violence inherent in the system.
No, it's come and see the violence inherent in the system.
Come and see the violence inherent in the system.
That one doesn't really work because the violence inherent in the system is not actual violence most of the time. Like, not physical violence most of the time. And in that case, he was, like, roughing him up a bit. Bloody peasant! But yeah, no. So, the whole American policing system needs a serious overhaul. Canadian one's not much better. There are countries like in the UK, police aren't even allowed to carry guns in most scenarios. Like, there are very select scenarios where yes, they can, but for the most part, the only weapon they might have is a billy club.
You know, I feel like being able to run up to a police officer and literally point at their gun and just say, "Oh, you got a license for that?" would be the most British thing you could do.
Oi, you got a license for that? Gotta say it with the accent. Lean in, Cirrus.
What?
Lean into the accent.
I thought I did.
You did not. I thought, okay, of the two of us, you are the only one who's done professional voice acting work.
Yeah, but that's with a director.
Oi, do it again, but more British.
But more British?
But more British.
But more
Cool,
British.
blimey.
Oh, cool. You fucking wanker.
We're so bad at this.
You know, if they hadn't have dominated the entirety of the fucking planet, this would be some kind of racism.
Oi, why you gotta be telling pork pies like that? I don't know. Is this less or more cringy than my intro to the stream? Comment down below. Like and subscribe.
Fucking hell.
I don't know. But yeah, no, they're saying that blue city mirrors are identifying ICE officers in an attempt to obstruct their effort to deport criminal illegal aliens, like the fucking first graders at the elementary school that they were trying to deport.
Yep. Or the workers at the Home Depot in Paramount.
Yeah. It's
Remember,
it's Schrodinger's immigrant. They are here to steal your jobs, and they're also lazy loafers living off the system.
Yep. That is a core tenet of fascism, though.
Yep.
The enemy is both weak and strong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's all Joe Biden's fault. So yeah, they're calling it the Protect Law Enforcement from Doxing Act, which, yeah, if you... So here's the little loophole with this. It proposes punishments including fines and up to 5 years in prison for those who publicly identify an officer with the intent to obstruct a criminal investigation or immigration enforcement operation. So my intent with doxing these officers is not to obstruct immigration enforcement operations. It's to shine a light on them to say, hey, are you proud of your job? Are you proud of going to a fucking elementary school armed to the teeth with your fucking assault rifles and tactical vests and all that shit with your face covered so you can abscond away with a fucking first grader? Is that something that makes you proud? I'm not obstructing anything with that. I just want to know, are you
Sir,
proud? Is your
sir,
wife proud of you for confronting
sir,
a first grader with a weapon?
sir, it's not something that makes me proud, sir. It's something that makes me hard. There's a difference.
Imagine proposing this bill and calling yourself a good guy. It's like, hey, I happen to have a first grader living in my house right now. And as much as like sometimes it feels like, yeah, you do need an assault rifle to deal with their temper tantrums and whatnot. You don't. They little. You don't need that shit. But also, like, aren't there laws about how like there have to be a legal parent or guardian present with law enforcement? You can't just grab them.
Should be.
They also, in that scenario, they lied to the school to get in. They said they had parental consent. And, like, I feel like lying to say that you have parental consent so that you can go and kidnap a first grader, I feel like whoever did that should be in jail. Because if someone came to my kid's school and was like, hey, I have their mother's consent to come and pick them up, and then they just take them, and they have now kidnapped them, that person should be in jail. How is that different from what this person did?
Well, you see, it's different because fuck you, Lib. Facts don't care about your feelings. That's the best you're gonna get.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we don't need to go into great detail here. I'm slacking off today. It's my birthday. Give me a break. Don't need to read the whole article. We're going to finish on a high note, though. Does anyone know where Sir Sick was when this happened? The Windsor, which is not too far away from me. Windsor police make arrest in $500,000 whiskey heist and are searching for more suspects. Does anyone know where Sir Sick was when this happened? Does he have an alibi?
I feel like I'm allowed to plead the fifth on this one.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say that he doesn't really need an alibi for this because the whiskey that they were stealing was Crown Royal, and that shit's garbage. I don't feel like Sir Sick would put his freedom on the line for Crown Royal. Johnny Bravo, thanks for the $1.
You get a man desperate enough.
This was sent to me by
surprised at what he does.
This was sent to me by Scott Delahunt. But yeah, that's surveillance footage of them unloading the truck into a U-Haul. What the best part about this is that they say the retail value of all this stuff is $500,000. The non-retail value, because like if you're buying a bottle of whiskey from someone on the street, like if you're going to charge me more than I'm going to pay at the LCBO, I'm just going to the LCBO. I'm not going to you sketchy guy in the fucking parking lot. So the street value of this stuff is $61,000. They've already arrested 5 people and they're looking for more. So these people are potentially LCBO is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. That's where you go for your alcohol in Ontario. They're starting to sell it in grocery stores, but it's just beer and wine right now. If you want the hard liquor, you got to go to the LCBO. But like these people are putting their freedom on the line for potentially just like $10,000 each at most. Like,
look, if you're stealing that much alcohol, you're probably sloshed enough to think it's a great idea.
Maybe. I just still think it's funny that there's a fucking whiskey heist. Okay. Don't really need to get into details there. Let's move on to the tweets. Hey, we might be done by 10 o'clock for the first time in months.
Holy shit. Yay!
It's my birthday.
Then I won't have to sit next to a friggin' vanity.
Okay. So moving on to the tweets. This was my favorite tweet to come out of the messy breakup between Trump and Vance. Was Daniel posted this. It's a picture of JD Vance with a beanie cap on. His face has been fattened up. He's got a little lollipop. It says, "What do you mean you don't love each other anymore?"
It's a messy breakup. What can we say?
Yeah. Then we have Donald Trump posting, "Arrest the people in face masks now." I'm like, okay. Arrest all the ICE officers. Go for it.
Face masks.
I agree. They are wearing face masks. Arrest those motherfuckers. So yeah, it's just kind of funny that.
Yay.
Marjorie Taylor Greene says, full transparency, I did not know about this section on pages 278 to 279 of the One Big Beautiful Bill. That's such a stupid name for a bill.
It is.
So fucking dumb. Like, people are going to read about this era in the history books, and they're just going to be like, really? That's what they called their fucking legislation? The One Big Beautiful Bill? How stupid were these people? Because it's just dumb.
Very.
It strips states of the rights to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. And I am adamantly opposed to this, and it's a violation of states' rights, and I would have voted no had I known this was in there. You know what else is a violation of states' rights? Sending the National Guard in against the state's will.
Yep. And the Marines.
And
700 of them.
Yeah. To enforce domestic laws, which under my understanding is illegal. They're not allowed to use the military to enforce domestic laws.
You would think that.
Well, they have to invoke the Insurrection Act first, but in order to do that, there has to actually be an insurrection. And, yeah, saying, hey, don't steal my child from his first grade classroom, I don't feel like that qualifies as an insurrection.
Nope. But Trump's going to be able to get away with it scot-free. And at his age, with his diet, he's probably going to die before he gets prosecuted for any of it.
Olivia Williams for $2 says, weekly shaming people for not liking the stream. Everybody liked the stream, Olivia said so.
Like the stream, or we're going to come to your house.
Like the stream, or ICE is coming. Okay, here we go. This is the juicy stuff. It says, time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. So yeah, him being in the Epstein files, that's not a big bomb. Everybody knows that. He hangs out with the guy, or he was hanging out with the guy all the time. He was on record talking about how he loves beautiful young women, really young women. He was on his jet all the time. We know this. It is known. Everybody who pays attention to this shit knows that Trump is in the Epstein files. The really big bomb here is Elon knew that Trump was in the Epstein files and
endorsed him.
And as long as he thought he was getting what he wanted out of the deal, he was fine working with a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's not some shocking revelation about Trump. You're revealing a lot about yourself here, buddy. Like,
yep. And the only time that he's going to throw him under the bus is when he thinks it's politically expedient, as opposed to when the world needs to know. Like, but this is what happens when you go on a ketamine-fueled bender. You don't think about your actions, you just kind of do.
Yeah. Sadly,
Also,
the Trump tweet about him being on ketamine was fake.
So, there is something very funny about this, though, from my perspective. So you know how Twitter's algorithm, even before Elon, very much favored conflict?
Mm-hmm.
And it got worse under Elon? Isn't it kind of poetic watching his crash out be on the thing that he bought?
Yes.
There's something poetic about that.
There's also the fact that, like, he knows Trump's in the Epstein files and is basically accusing him of being a pedophile, but he let him hang out with his kid all the time. Like, I mean, he would loan him his human shield. So, like,
he might do the Richard Dawkins thing where he admits to being assaulted in school.
I see nothing wrong with mild pedophilia. Wait, why am I giving Dawkins?
But I think it helped build my character.
Let's see. Oh, can I do a Dawkins voice? No, I can't. Can you do a Dawkins voice?
I don't think I can. That's close.
I suppose I just cannot condemn mild pedophilia. That's not
because it happened to him, and it made him a better person, according to him.
Did he say it made him a better person? I don't recall. I just remember when I looked into that, it was just like he was like, yeah, no, I was molested as a kid, and it didn't bother me that much.
Let me look at the quote so that I'm not straw manning him. Good Lord, he says enough stuff that I don't have to do that.
And honestly, here's the thing. from my perspective, I could see if something like that had happened to me as a child, it probably would not have bothered me all that much either. I probably, like, in retrospect, knowing about my sexuality now, I'm like, I probably just would have enjoyed it. And it would have been a fun thing that I did. And oh, yeah, looking back on it, that was yikesy, but it would have been fine with me. I am not everyone. It would really fuck a lot of people up. Most people, I would think. And I even can't guarantee that it wouldn't have fucked me up. I'm just guessing at that. So.
Okay, so the exact quote is, just as we don't look back on the 18th and 19th centuries and condemn people for racism in the same way we would condemn a modern person for racism, we do.
Yeah, I do.
Don't fucking lie. We do. I look back a few decades to my childhood and I see things like caning, like mild pedophilia, and I can't find it in me to condemn it by the same standards as I or anyone would today. I don't think it did any of us any lasting damage. Abuse in all its forms has always been wrong. Evil is evil, and we have to challenge it whenever it occurs. Hold on. Oh, sorry. That last quote is from Peter Saunders, not from Dawkins. Dawkins does not say we need to condemn evil whenever it happens. That's a different person. That's
yeah. I was gonna say I don't remember him saying we need to condemn evil in that. Dawkins is quite a piece of shit.
There's
something fishy wants to know what the fuck is mild pedophilia.
In his mind, it's the groping that happened for him and his other classmates at that age. That's their version of mild pedophilia versus, like, I guess penetrative assault would be what the comparison is.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, no, I don't need to make that distinction.
Potato, tomato.
Yeah. It's bad. Anyway, moving on with the messy public breakup. Elon Musk again, he's retweeting Donald Trump. Trump says the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and millions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Again, broken clock. Elon is living on the government dime, basically, at this point in his life. Like, you want to talk about welfare queens eating lobster dinner off of government paychecks? That's exactly what Elon is doing.
Yep.
Like, quite literally. And then Elon responds to that saying, in light of the president's statement about cancellation by government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately, which, keep in mind, that's the only spacecraft that NASA or that the United States government uses right now to shuttle astronauts back and forth from the ISS. So this is quite literally putting on display how, like, it's a bad idea to have one guy in charge of a private company with minimal to no government oversight in charge of something important like that, because you rub them the wrong way and now suddenly we can't get our astronaut back from the ISS because we made Elon mad. So, like, that's why it should be publicly funded and publicly run, so that you're not subject to the whims of a petulant man baby.
Yeah, you don't want important shit, especially as the United States does things like set up a space force, as an example. You don't want incredibly important shit in your government ecosystem to be handled by one guy who can just go on a drug bender and suddenly revoke all your shit.
Yep. It's a bad idea. Let's not give him any more contracts.
But we shouldn't elect women because they're emotionally unstable.
Yeah. And of course, this was a very common refrain I saw in the replies to these, was people being like, oh, this is all part of the plan. It's too easy and so good to watch it work. Elon and Trump are executing perfectly. They're playing six-dimensional chess.
Yes. And then I'm going to call you a pedophile. That's perfect. Oh my God, it's perfect.
Yeah, really? Like, you think calling Trump a pedophile was all part of the plan? Oh, but that's the plausible deniability. See, if it wasn't part of the plan, he wouldn't have done it. Because that's proof that it's not part of the plan. Therefore, it was part of the plan.
It was part of the plan all along. You had no idea. None of you had any idea.
Like, everything has to be some big plan. Like, these guys were very clearly just having an emotional feud and freaking out at each other in an embarrassing way. But it's all part of, like, what plan? What did they gain from that?
Yeah, the thing with any plan whatsoever is you have to ask the question:
Key bono.
what is the end goal? What is the final stroke of the plan? And you can't just say, "Oh, trust me, they know what they're doing." No,
like, what is the
final
actual
stroke
plan
of
here?
this?
What do you gain from having such a public falling out like that? And then we got Ian Miles Chong saying, President versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. Well, apparently, as we've discovered today, he already lost.
Yeah,
he capitulated.
Oh no, Ian Miles Chung, a loser?
He was wrong about something? Oh no.
Who
I do
would've
agree.
guessed?
I do agree with it. Again, broken clocks are right twice a day and all that. Trump should be impeached and JD Vance should replace him. Well, I don't agree with JD Vance should replace him, but Trump should be impeached. And unfortunately, JD Vance will replace him because that's just how the system's set up.
And you know, Ian Miles Chung is going to go from Trump should be impeached to Trump is the best guy in the world within 2 weeks.
Yep. Because that's just how he rolls.
It's what he does.
Then we have Jack Posobiec. I'm sure everybody saw this one already. This was making the rounds. Some of y'all can't handle two high agency males going at it, and it really shows. This is direct communication, phallocentric. Okay, just for the record, phallocentric means penis-centered. It's centered on penises. Do you want your communication to be penis-centric?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I can communicate with my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Versus indirect communication, which is gynocentric, which you can still communicate with your mouth.
You know, you're right. But then I can communicate with my mouth and my... Oh, wait, no, hold on. Docking exists. You're right.
Oh, so many callbacks to last week in this episode.
And we're back to docking.
It says, I understand you aren't used to it. Yeah, no, I'm not used to my communication style being centered around dicks. I mean, okay, maybe that's a lie. I talk about dicks a lot. But still. It's just ridiculous. And
you're just not ready for two high agency males. That's all.
That was the last tweet.
But what about the high agency males?
What high agency males? They're petulant man babies.
He said that they existed. I believed him. No.
Yeah, well, he's a fucking idiot.
You're right. You're right.
Okay. Are you going to continue streaming after this?
Absolutely not. Not from.
You don't want to
not
stream
from
from the
this
bathroom?
vanity in this uncomfortable chair.
You guys can't see it right now, but Cyrus is doing a bathtub stream.
I mean, functionally, I did a call with Rhino on WhatsApp, like doing circles around the room, going, and this outlet doesn't work, and this outlet doesn't work, and this doesn't work.
Oh, hey, Pirate Software is streaming. I'm going to raid him.
Hell yeah.
He's got 5.6 thousand viewers, so my 30 people will surely help him out.
Now, hopefully, people have died down from the stupid fucking World of Warcraft drama with him.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't particularly care, so I'm just going to end the stream now. Thanks for joining me. I know it's early, but fuck off anyway.
It's your...